want to thank our students for speaking today about bell times, and if you'll indulge me for a few minutes, I think it's important to reaffirm the decision that, or remind ourselves what compelled us to make the decision that we made that my colleagues made in 2015. At the time, I was an observer of this board. I was a candidate, and I was a bit torn by the decision that we had made because we had been reviewing the issue for over a year at that time. First, the recommendation from then Superintendent Starr was, I believe, to move 50 minutes back, and then we sort of fell in this intermediary where we moved it 20 minutes back as a cost-neutral measure, and so we were kind of in the medium, but I commended the board for having the courage to take action on this issue, and I actually did pull out some old memorandums from older studies. So this issue, as a brief history, actually began more recently in 1998 when then Superintendent Paul Vance released a report of the bell time study, and in his November 10th, 1998 memorandum to the board, he said, and I quote, "Nonetheless, I believe that the school system must take a proactive stance in addressing those issues over which it has some control in regard to high school sleep." He wrote, "I believe then, as I do now, that there is a need to address the larger issue of sleep deprivation among adolescents, not solely from the perspective of a single solution, that of starting high schools later in the day, but rather as a matter of requiring the attention of the entire community." He continued on to write, and I quote, "Additionally, I am compelled by the research on adolescent sleep patterns and believe that the school system must provide leadership in an arena that so profoundly affects its clientele." So, as Superintendent Vance wrote then, and I concur with now, I think that we did have some leadership on that issue, and we need to reaffirm our leadership on that issue. And I just want to, as I'm not limited to 3 minutes, read off some of the studies which compelled us to make that move in 2015. For instance, the American Academy of Pediatrics released a recommendation on August 5th, 2014, entitled "Let Them Sleep." The AAP recommends delaying school start times of middle and high schools to combat sleep deprivation. The Academy said studies that show that adolescents don't sleep enough, often suffer physical and mental health problems, and increased risk of automobile accidents, and a decline in academic performance. The research is clear that adolescents who do not get enough sleep have a reduced risk of being overweight, or who do get enough sleep have a reduced risk of being overweight or suffering depression, are less likely to be involved in automobile accidents, and have better grades, higher standardized test scores, and an overall better quality of life. Dr. Owens, the lead author, said studies have shown that delayed school start times is one key factor that can help adolescents get the sleep that they need to learn and grow. Then in a policy statement in August 2014 on school start times for adolescents, the Academy said, and I quote, "Although a number of factors, including biological changes in sleep associated with puberty, lifestyle choices, and academic demands negatively affect middle and high school students' ability to obtain sufficient sleep, the evidence strongly implicates earlier start times as a key modifiable contributor to insufficient sleep, as well as circadian rhythm disruption in this population. Furthermore, a substantial body of research has now demonstrated that delaying start times is an effective countermeasure to chronic sleep loss and has a wide range of potential benefits to students with regard to physical and mental health, safety, and academic achievement." In a news report on October 8th, 2015, entitled "Among Teens, Sleep Deprivation and Epidemic," Stanford Medicine concluded that according to a 2006 National Sleep Foundation poll, the organization's most recent survey of sleep teen, more than 87% of high school students in the United States get far less than the recommended 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Unfortunately, I am among them. And the amount of time that sleep is decreasing, a serious threat to health, safety, and academic success. An American Psychological Association article dated February 2016 entitled "Young and Sleep Deprived" said psychologists' research supports later school start times for teens' mental health, and one of their conclusions was fewer than 1 in 5 middle and high school students begin their days than the average start time across the U.S. is 8:03 a.m., and we fall earlier than that and earlier than the recommended 8:30 a.m. start. Then, to dispel some of the pundits, there was a study performed, and critics, including some parents and teachers unions, say that later start times will mean kids will simply go to bed later. But research does not bear out that concern. Pushing back school start times by 75 minutes yields as much as 50 more minutes of sleep for the average middle schooler, according to a study of 205 students by psychologist Amy Wolfson, PhD in behavioral sleep medicine in 2007, and depending on the study and amount of delay, 15 to 45 minutes extra sleep for the average high schooler. In schools that start at 8:30 or later, 60% of students sleep at least 8 hours on school nights, the University of Minnesota found upon reviewing action of a Minnesota school district. That added sleep can have profound effects. In Jackson Hole, teen car crashes fell by 70% after a shift in bell times. And I quote, "Plus the data showed a clear trend. The later the start, the more positive outcomes emerge. Even though it is difficult for the school community to make a change to later start times, the emerging benefits for well-being and the academic gains for teenagers make the decision to do so compelling," said the lead researcher. There was another study which reaffirmed this point and said after a start time delay, mean school night sleep duration increased by 45%, and average bedtime advanced by 18 minutes with a 95% confidence interval. The percentage of students getting less than 7 hours of sleep decreased by 79.4%, and those reporting at least 8 hours of sleep increased from 16.4% to 54.7%. Students reported significantly more satisfaction with sleep and experienced improved motivation. Daytime sleepiness, fatigue, and depressed mood were all reduced. Most health-related variables, including health center visits for fatigue-related complaints and class attendance, also improved. And their conclusion was that a modest delay in school start times was associated with significant improvements in measures of adolescent alertness, mood, and health. The results of this study support the potential benefits of adjusting school start times to adolescent sleep needs, circadian rhythm, and developmental stage. So I'll leave it there. I think that we haven't done a research study to the extent that have been that to the ones to which I refer around the nation. We did receive some data as a board last week, which showed that among Title I elementary schools, the 2016-2017 school year to date has the lowest percentage of tardies since the 2011 to 2012 school year. For Tier 2, sorry, I apologize, I said Title I, I meant Tier 1. For Tier 2 elementary schools, the data revealed the lowest percentage of tardies in the 2016-2017 school year since the 2011 to 2012 school year. And among middle schools, we see, so to date, the lowest percentage of middle school students absent since the 2011 to 2012 school year. And we see a slight downtick from the 2015 to 2016 school year among high school students. Perhaps that's because second semester hasn't kicked in for some seniors. But we actually have seen a 2% uptick since 2011-2012, which I believe actually compels other research to be done. But I just wanted to remind those around the table about why we did make the decision that we did in 2015, and there have been some unintended consequences perhaps at the elementary level, but I don't believe that reverting back will totally mitigate the challenges and that we will solve the problem in its entirety. So thank you.